Hi. Let's talk about Buddy DeFranco's solo on All the Things You Are from his album Pacific Standard Swinging Time. So, I want to talk about three harmony tips and three rhythm tips, what I really like about them, and how you can use them in your own playing to sound even better. Now, I'll start with the rhythm because that's actually the most important. The way he starts his phrases is 2 out of 3 times on upbeats. As you see here, first he starts on the two and then he starts on the one and on the one end also on the F7 chord here, and on the E flat major chord he also starts on the one end. I counted all the phrases and it was indeed 2 out of 3 times that he starts like that. He also likes to start with 2/16 notes going down, like on the minor 7 chord, where he starts 2/16 going down, starting on the upbeat. Also, he does the same rhythm here on the E flat major 7 chord and on the G minor 7 chords, and many other times in his solo. It helps bring in movement and start the phrase with a lot of energy. And also, when it comes to energy, a second tip I have on rhythm is using triplets. He uses these 16 note triplets here on the C7 and the F major 7 chord, where he goes, so it brings more speed into it. He also goes into this classic bebop phrase with a leading tone going into this triplet arpeggio and followed by some 8 notes. My favorite thing about Buddy DeFranco's use of triplet language is what he does here on the A flat half diminished chord. So instead of playing on the first and third triplet like you do when you play swing, so bam badam badam, he plays on the first and the second, so badap ba badap. And I think that is a really cool change in rhythm. And it will be the thing, if you do this, that the drummers will look at you going, yeah, he knows what he's doing, on the jam scene. A last point I want to mention is how he uses grace notes. So he plays a little short note anticipating some of the stronger tones that he wants to land on. He uses it here on the D7 flat 9 chord, and very clearly here at the end, where he both starts with a grace note going into the phrase here, but like the last 2 bar phrase, and also at the here where he has a little bluesy kind of grace note thing going on. Last point I want to make is about the harmony. So mainly he just follows the changes. On the B flat major 7 chord, he just plays a B flat major 6th arpeggio going down and using some scale tones. And the same thing is happening here with the E flat major 7. He also plays the major 6th chord, but just adds some extra tones in between. And on the D7, he also just plays a D major arpeggio, and the G minor 7, he plays a G minor scale from the first to the fifth degree. So he just generally plays a lot into the chords. But he does have some places where he changes up the modes and like a couple of tones, which makes the lines sound a bit more interesting and a bit more weird maybe. So, for example, we have the 2-5-1 here, C minor 7, F7, B flat major 7, where instead of playing Dorian, which you usually do on the 2 chord, he plays Aeolian by using this here, the flat 6th degree. He also uses the flat 6th degree when you have this the same 2-5-1 going on later, where he uses this A flat. Just sounds really cool. He also uses the sharp 11 here, which has kind of a Lydian sound, after having put on a Ionian sound, so just a normal major scale, and then instead of playing the G, as he does in the first bar here, he plays a D sharp. So also a way to create interest. And to make this part a bit easier with the diminished chord, he actually just plays C sharp minor instead of C sharp diminished. So that's also a thing you can do. Now the last harmony tip is how he just goes crazy on the dominant chords. He uses here on the F7 the sharp 9, the flat 13th, the major 7th, the flat 9th, and on the D7 flat 9 he uses both the flat 9 and the sharp 9. On the A7 he uses the flat 13, and the C7 he uses the flat 13th. On the D flat 7th he uses the G7 chord, so that's tritone substitution of the D flat 7 going to this G flat major 7. So just harmony, that sounds great. Now, definitely the craziest thing here is when he uses a D flat minor triad here from and here too. He also does a kind of similar thing on the F7 right here. But the thing about the D flat minor 7 or just D flat minor triad is that It includes the flat 13th, the major 7, and the sharp 9, all really tense tones to play over this chord. And it's basically, if you want to generalize it, the thing he does here is just take a dominant chord and then play the minor chord one major third below the dominant chord. Now, all these tips are not going to make you a better musician by themselves, so you have to use it, of course, and practice them. What you can do now is take your instrument, put on a backing track, and try to improvise while playing phrases where you start on upbeats using this leading into like the phrases style. So you will play 2/16 notes going into a phrase and starting on an upbeat. And just try playing around with that for like maybe 3 or 5 minutes. It doesn't have to be a long time, but just trying to get this sound into your ears. And maybe also try to experiment a bit with the triplets and seeing if you can get some more energy into your solos using this triplet kind of phrases. If you're more interested in the harmonics kind of stuff, you could try experiment a bit with using the flat 13th, or just trying to play other modes where you would usually play, for example here where you would play Dorian, then try to play Aeolian, or play Lydian instead of Ionian. If you're interested in learning more, I do have other videos on the channel, like how to start Bebop, or you can get a lesson with me for pretty cheap, for just $15 right now. I have a link down in the comments. Yeah, have a nice day.